I don't know if I'm allowed to move around if the camera is
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is it better now?
No, still, I was on me. Okay, David.
Cool. Before we actually get to the workshop, I generally like to warm up the room by trying to understand who the echo there is. Good. Alright. So first of all, can I ask everyone to just do me a tiny favor and move towards the front of the room? I want to be friends with everyone, so it feels very weird.
Let's not be scared.
Yeah.
Go closer. You can even give me a hug if you can.
Yeah, please. I'm very open to accepting hugs.
We're still obeying the 2-meter rules.
It's the speakers that this system that speaker that goes back into the
So quick one, let's just do a quick intro so I can at least address you by your name if I have questions or if I need to use some form of interaction. I think we should go with you.
Yeah, I'm Sam. I'm a second engineer on the project. I'm working with reusable.
Nice. And how about you?
Maybe he's like.
Okay.
I think we need to fix before the next one.
Yeah.
I told you yesterday.
Yeah, are you coming from a corporate background? Yeah, I could guess from that's much experience, but I will not react. How about you?
This is Preston. So I'm a freshman developer, so I'm a reusable student. I've been using React for the past 6 years. Looking forward.
Thank you.
I'm Sri. I work at the stack. I've been with stack for years.
Yeah. Everything. I was hoping to get something very specific. You want to be right technology at least.
Okay, so I'm working with AWS and React.
Yeah.
And I use
That's fair, that's okay. Maybe I'll convince you by the end of the workshop. Yeah. How about you?
I'm software engineer and computer scientist.
Yeah.
I have my own IT project, and we are looking for multi-cloud now.
Okay.
So upload the website, we are based in Google. The
Yeah.
developers are from Google.
Mm.
More than 300 developers very inside the Google.
Alright.
And we are ready to also unseal of the whole system.
Yeah, that's,
Let's see how things go down.
thank you. Thanks for giving me a chance. How about you?
and focus on building a learning platform.
Mhm.
Focus my side project and my job.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to raise my productivity, so I was looking for builder.io and their Figma training also. I'm
Nice.
really excited about this.
Yeah, that's my favorite audience. Alright, so are you all based in London or a few of you flying London? Wow, that's an honor. How about you? London.
22 years.
Wow, that's it. All right. Cool. So my name is Christian, and I'm what we call the developer advocate at AWS. And I'm focusing specifically on AWS Amplify, which is basically this amazing tool set that allows you to focus on building your app and not worry about infrastructure. But then, the thing is, when most people hear a pitch like this, they immediately assume that maybe they have to, the trade-off for that simplicity is poor architecture, right? But that's not the case with Amplify, because Amplify is basically a front end, it's basically a door to the most powerful tool of AWS. So we're going to see a lot of things like data modeling, authentication, storage, which are all backed by the famous DynamoDB, AWS S3, and Cognito. So Amplify is basically does not exist. It's just a doorway. It's a doorway that makes things easier for you to interact with AWS. So you can relax and trust that this is not an experimental project. It is actually talking to all the AWS services at the end of the day. And to make things even more interesting, if you start building and prototype very fast and launch and see that you are succeeding and you can hire cloud engineers, they just need to run one command and everything, Amplify basically just exits and everything goes into, like you start seeing how things are laid out in DynamoDB or AppSync or storage or Cognito. Alright? So by the end of the day, I'm going to do my best to show you my favorite features. Amplify is big because it covers everything you need to build an app. And I cannot teach you all of that in 2 hours. But I'm going to show you what I find more interesting and what has solved most of my problems practically. Not just because I'm an advocate, but as a developer, what has helped me the most about Amplify. And I think that's what most people find interesting, just like Alice mentioned when he introduced me. Alright? Are we excited? Okay, let's do this. Let's see. Before we actually do that, I would like to do a little bit of warm-up exercise, and I'm just going to ask each one of you to do me a little favor, and let's see. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Do me a tiny little favor, and for each person in the room, can you know, do you all know about brain dump exercises? Like personal brain dump exercises you do maybe in the morning to organize yourself, where you write everything happening in your head, right? Now, we're going to do a slightly different version of it, where it's going to be a group brain dump. So all of us are going to dump all of our ideas on the screen. And basically the ideas are how you perceive AWS Amplify. If it's the first time you've heard about it, it's okay, just say okay. You just guess, I would like at least a random guess of what it does. Or maybe mention a competitor's name that you feel it's kind of like, or like however you feel to describe what Amplify is. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. But the purpose of the exercise is to get you warmed up and get you interacting with each other for the workshop, okay? So I'm going to start with you again. How do you perceive Amplify if you've heard of it before?
I haven't heard it before. I just wanted to just interested in rapid stuff.
Okay. And rapid prototyping. Cool. That's exactly what we're here, alright? Could you guess? Or could you guess a competitor's product that you think might be what AWS Amplify is also offering?
Is there something in Azure?
Is it?
Is there something in Azure?
Yeah, yeah, of course there is in Azure, there's in GCP as Thank you. How about you?
I would like, how will it easy to scale up your service?
Easy to scale up. Interesting. I've not heard that perspective before. Easy when we need to scale up. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Working, the sockets are not working.
Build fast. How about you?
It's been a while, but I remember paying 10 years ago when everything was going
Okay. Avoid pain.
Sockets are not
Pain, the first pain. Pain. It was.
Oh, avoid pain. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's exactly what. That it's interesting you brought that up because I wasn't going to cover authentication today, but now that you mentioned it was painful for you, I'll try my best to give you the tools you need to make it easier for you. Okay. All right. So we have 5 points, and I completely agree with everything here. And it's also an exercise for me because it gives me new perspective to understand who is in the room and make sure I'm talking to you based on what your expectation is. You're expecting to be able to put time very fast. You're expecting to make sure your place is easier for you to use. You're expecting that when you need to scale, you can easily scale. You want to build fast, of course, and you want to avoid pain when you come into, which is everything I'm going to show you all today. All right. So I want to see. Are you all interested in following along, or would you rather watch me build and then it's a very easy process? So whichever one is fine. If you want to follow along, you only cost to that is that I might need to come to you, and I don't know if the camera will be able to follow me everywhere I go. But if it's okay with you, you can just pay attention and get your mind blown, and then you can go and practice. Okay? All right. So let's start with setting up Amplify. Do you all have AWS account hands in the air? Cool. And have your credit card been charged? Has any of your credit cards been charged? Yeah, okay, that was a joke that it's a very classic AWS joke. Yeah. Well, we have AWS account. The only thing we need to do is to install the Amplify server. So if we go to, I'm going to do everything on filters so you can see how to find information when you need it, right? So I'm just going to go to the dots. This is the AWS Amplify dot. It's at amplify.aws. Alright? Then if you click on get started and click on prerequisites, yeah, it's actually me. Yeah. So the first thing you need to do is to install the Amplify CLI. We show. If we search for AWS Amplify CLI, so we're just going to run this in your terminal, okay? If you search for AWS Amplify CLI, find this particular repository or the npm or the docs and run npm install global CLI. Now what this is going to allow you to do is to be able to start running Amplify specific commands in your computer, set up a new Amplify project, push to AWS, pull from AWS and all of those cool stuff, including also deploying your website. And since this is going to interface with AWS, it means you have to supply your AWS credentials to it, right? So you need to authenticate it somehow so you can be able to do that. That is where the second command comes in, okay? Controller basically is going to redirect to your browser and ask you to authorize CLI to be able to make requests on your behalf. Okay, so just these two commands is the only thing we need to set up. Alright. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it live because, of course, I work at AWS. So I'm doing it live, it makes me very responsible. So I've done this in the past, and I already have the CLI set up. And the next step would be to create a project. The feedback is really distracting. Is there a way? Okay, it seems better now. The next step is to create a project. Usually, the way Amplify is, the way our philosophy is that we want to meet you at, our philosophy is to meet you where you are. So if you're using React, if you're using Figma, that's fine. So generally, the workflow would be to allow you to first of all set up your front-end project, and then you can just amplify that project. That way you don't have to have like mono repos, or you have like one repository that handles all your Amplify stuff and another repository that hosts your front-end project. Okay? Since the goal is for you to just focus on building apps, we want you to set up your app first, however you want it, including mobile apps, React Native, Swift, Flutter, whatever framework you're using. Once you're done with that setup, then you can then set up Amplify that project. Okay? So to create a React project, you can use create React apps or Swift or any of those commands. But I've created a boilerplate which basically has all the styling for this project, so we won't spend most time writing CSS or tailable. Instead, we're just going to spend most of the time practicing how to use Amplify. Okay? Cool. To initialize the project, you can open my terminal and run npm dgit. Dgit is just basically a template system which allows you to pull a template from the repository and use that template. Okay? And the repository I want to pull from is from my GitHub repository. Basically, let me show you what the repository. This one. Alright, the Nwamba /Amplify skill option. Okay. So I'm just going to copy the username and the repository and paste it. And I want to use the starter branch. Make sure this is big enough for everyone. So if you go to the repository, you can see the main branch and then the starter branch. And the starter is just everything before the end of the workshop. The main is the end of the workshop. So if you just want to jump to the end and look at the code, then that's fine. But the starter contains all the boilerplate code. Okay? So I'm going to create a new project with the starters. And let's just call it Studio Demo. So I think I should have run dgit, sorry, npx dgit. So this has cloned this repository now, and if I cd into Studio Demo and open, let me show that it's running. And open Visual Studio Code here. Alright. So you can see that we just basically have a simple React project. And we are going to end up rendering some components here, but it's just using styles from Amplify UI library. So Amplify UI library is kind of, you all know about Tailwind, right? Or Bootstrap, something like that. You can use whatever works for you, but I'm using that to make sure very simple way to style things and not focus on the CSS. And the second reason to why this library is important, I'm going to show you this in later, but for now, don't worry about that and just know that this is just boilerplate for the project, okay? And then we also have this component, which is the model that renders forms. If I want to show a pop-up for the UI, that's just what the model is going to do, okay? So that's all you need to know about the boilerplate. There's nothing else going on. And if I run npm run there, so I need to install actually. I need to run npm install temporary dependencies. And while this is happening, just want to see that, make sure everyone is on the same page, right? Do you have all the links you need, or should I still show you the repositories? Yeah, they're fine, right? Cool. Alright, so this is done now, and we can run npm, run there, and you can see it's just a blank page, which is expected, because we are not rendering anything here, right? Or at least the server is running. Okay? Cool. So I think the boring part is, we are done with the boring part now, so let's get to the exciting Amplify stuff. Alright? So step one, we need to head to AWS console and actually create an Amplify project. So to do that, just go to console.aws.amazon.com, and of course you need to log in. So let me just quickly do that. And once you are logged in, you just need to search for AWS Amplify. Open it. And once it's open, click on the new app button. Choose build an app. Okay, there are two options. You can host a static website or like a regular React web app using this option. But we need a backend. We need to prototype a backend, and that is where the build an app option comes in. And then we can give the app a name. So let's do Studio Demo 3.4. And confirm deployment. Now, what's happening behind the scene is that Amplify is setting up all the resources you need to actually use Amplify. I know it sounds very loopy, but we need to, and at the end of the day, we need to have something called an Amplify Studio, which is basically taking us out of the AWS console into an entirely new UI where you can start modeling your database, you can start setting up authentication, you can start prototyping UIs, you can set up your storage, you can set up Lambda functions and all of those cool things. So this process is just AWS Amplify setting up that entire dashboard for you for this particular app. Okay? So let's give it a few seconds to finish setup. And if you have any questions while it's happening, please let me know. So far, has everything been very clear and simple? Cool. Alright, so this is done now, and you can see we have an actual app in our AWS Amplify console. Now we have this big button asking us to launch Studio. If you click this button, it takes you to that entirely different user interface that allows you to manage all of your Amplify resources. Okay? If you click Launch Studio, it's going to open a new tab, and then if you give it a few seconds, it's going to launch that. It's going to, of course, authenticate that dashboard and then launch it. You can see we have this interesting dashboard, a lot of things to do. You can see we can manage all the content we have. It's also a content management system. Once you have all data in there, you can manage your users. You can browse through the files that users have uploaded. You can, of course, this is kind of like suspense, so I won't tell you what that is yet. But You can model its data, you can set up authentication, you can set up storage, you can set up Lambda functions and all of these cool things, okay? But the first thing we need to do is to actually just model a database, okay? And to model a database, we just need to click on the data menu and click on the add model button. If you click on this button, you need to give the model a name. So we'll write post as the name of the model, and we just want it to have title and content feed. Alright? Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to show you data relationships, but it's possible. And how to do that is just to add another model, maybe give it name comments, and then add a relationship between both of them, and choose post as the model you want to relate it to, and then choose one-to-many or many-to-many or all this good stuff. But we're not going to do that for this project. I'm just going to show you a lot of features, even when we don't implement them, so you have the options to know that the options are out there for you in case you start looking into the docs. Okay? Cool. So we're just going to create a post model, and now that we've written out what the model should look like, we need to save it and then deploy it. Okay? Now what's happening behind the scene is that Amplify, remember when I told you that Amplify is just a door, it's just a gateway. It is not necessarily an actual AWS resource. Okay? What is happening right now, you can see that we have a picture of DynamoDB. Amplify is just going to AWS DynamoDB and spinning one off for you, an instance of DynamoDB for you, which means that every single data you store using Amplify, you're not actually storing it in Amplify. Alright? You are storing it with DynamoDB, and DynamoDB is an industry-standard database that AWS makes sure that people that are using it can confide in with a lot of confidence. Alright? So this is when I mentioned that it's okay for you to relax and trust Amplify. It's because most of the resources behind the scene are powerful resources that power millions of apps around the globe, and it's very, very reliable. Does that make sense? Cool. So basically what's happening now is that we are setting up DynamoDB, and as it's being set up, we are also going to create the table in DynamoDB called post and do all of this provisioning for you. So you see how things are beginning to become very, very easy. You don't have to deal with DynamoDB yourself, you don't have to read through AWS docs to understand how DynamoDB works or the best practices, because Amplify opinionates its best practices. So it makes sure that you are protected from a lot of things. Alright? So let's give it a few seconds to create the database. And one other thing, of course, is create a set of ways AppSync, which is the GraphQL API that talks to the database. Okay, because of course you have a database, but then if you've done full stack engineering or backend engineering, you still need some form of business logic that will talk to that database, right? The business logic in this case is AppSync. It's going to be where it's going to generate a lot of GraphQL queries and applications that will talk to that database. Does that make sense? Alright, so any questions why this is being deployed? Yeah. Yes, so you can, there are different ways to do this. There are different layers from the front end stage to what we call CDK, which is basically injecting and writing all the code that's amplified as behind the scene. So there are different ways to basically make sure the flexibility, yes, you have the flexibility to go into Amplify and say, hey, I don't want you to handle this for me anymore. I can take care of it. That is very, very possible. Alright? And you can also partner with Amplify, so you can be like, I want to be able to do this before, I want to be able to run this serverless function before you write to the database, but I want to run this function after you write to the database, but I want to, yeah, so there are different ways to, like custom groups or custom business logic you can connect to the API for flexibility. So for example, you build, let's say for the post model you created, you want people basically hook into that before the post is created. Alright? So you can see we've successfully deployed the model and we can click on done. And if you look at it, it looks like there's no difference. It looks exactly like what we had when we were modeling it. But there is an indicator here saying it's been deployed. That's one. Secondly, if you go to the content page, you should be able to start adding posts now. Okay? So you can see the table, you can see the ID, the title, the content, and the dates. Alright? And what we can do here is we can choose to create individual posts here and add the title and content. Remember that's what we modeled. Or just to save ourselves some time, we can click on actions and click auto-generate data. So it's going to use the Figma API to randomly generate some data that we can test with. So let's say we need 10 items in a table, and let's add a few constraints. So I want the title to span between 3 to 5 words. Okay? And the content to span between 5 to 10 words. Alright? If I click generate data, let's see it populates the database with random logarithm content. Okay? Cool. So, am I starting to blow your mind here? Alright, so this, I don't know if you know how much time you save, but you basically set up an industry standard API that you can we'll look at how to connect to it, but you just I think we're maybe 10 to 15 minutes in the workshop and we talking, say imagine you just protect really quickly, you already have a database going. Okay? Cool. So any questions I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes break for questions and then we'll move on. So think through what we've done and see if there's anything that doesn't seem straightforward or things I can explain better. Because since I was here, the next steps are where you start actually seeing Power Amplify. This, what we've just done right now, you can get it from a lot of products, right? But the next steps are where you start being wow. Alright, so no questions. I want to be sure you understand what's going on because when we move on, I want to make sure I carry everyone to the next step. Yeah.
So, one of the main things every company does is that they want to find new data so that they can reduce the database. So one first thing is like, how can I model the data such a way that my R use like this?
Yeah.
Right.
So exactly. So that's remember when I mentioned I told you that Amplify is set up in a way that protects you. That's exactly what I meant. You can trust Amplify. This is my personal account, and I've done a lot of crazy things with it, and I've not paid. Why I teach this workshop with my personal account is for you to know that I'm not maybe just showing you from my AWS employee account where I'm not being charged for stuff. Like I can do crazy things, and I've never been charged for my credit card. And I don't have numbers for you, but trust me, the way Amplify is set up is by the time you pay for Amplify, you should at least have a paying customer. At least you should either a paying customer or like you have a lot of traffic to pay for it. So you can trust that trust and just do everything. And that's one of our primary goals at Amplify. That's one of the things because most people are not only dealing with the complexities of AWS infrastructure, but also while they are dealing with that, they are worried about, oh shit, I don't want to get charged for this thing. So we put all of that into consideration. I'm just going to focus on building your app. By the time you get charged, there is a chance your app is already going places. Okay?
And this is the breakdown of the individual resources.
Yes. So here is something very interesting. If you go back to the AWS console, okay, and go to let's search for DynamoDB. Remember we just created a big database, right? If you open DynamoDB, you should let's see. to each of these services and manage them like they are individual services. Okay. So, like I told you, Amplify is just helping you. Yeah, it doesn't take the control from you. You can go into any of, you can go to app and start your app sync as well, because we've created two things, right? We've done app sync, we've done demo DB and app sync. If you go to app sync, you should be able to see the studio demo we just created. It's called Studio 4, right? And you can see that, like, I think if you go to run query, you can see the list of posts we created. Okay, so let's say we try to run this query now. Let me list post items. And for items, we want to get title and the content, right? So this is what we auto-generated. So you can see like I'm going behind the scene and messing with these data if I want to. So Amplify doesn't take control from you, it's just helping you get where you need to get. Okay? Cool. And like you asked, you can go to pricing for any of these individual services and figure out what's going on. But at the end of the day, Amplify just puts guards that helps you make sure you don't blow out on your prices. Okay? Alright. So, like I mentioned, this is the step you're going to find very, very interesting. So I need all of your attention. Like if you went home with anything today, this is what I want to go home. Okay? And that is this particular new feature we call the UI library. And basically, when I first saw this, it was like sorcery to me. Because all this while we've seen tools that allow you to maybe prototype without coding. But most of the time, what I dislike about them is that they take the control away from the developer. For example, if something allows you to maybe draw on the screen to generate a UI, I'm a front-end developer with 10 years of experience. I don't want you to take that control away from me. I want you to make me get there faster, but allow me to still go into the code and what I want to do. Okay? And that's where this UI library comes in. And why it's so powerful is that it uses our favorite tools. What it basically does is that it asks you for a Figma link that contains all your company components. And then once you give it that link, it goes through that Figma project and generates actual React components from those Figma components. Interesting, right? Okay, I think talk is cheap. Let me show you how that actually works. Well, what I'm going to do is, if you go to, one second, let me get a URL for you. By the way, how many of you know about Tana? Okay. That's the thought I was going to look like this. It's a very cool person because I'm using it, but yeah, so it's basically a note-taking alternative to Notion. That's like, correct me better, but it's really cool. Anyway, so I have this, I don't know how best to share it with you. I'm going to put this in the repository at the end of the workshop so you can just have access to it. But if you click on this link, you can make a copy of this, my UI kit. Okay? Actually, it's not my UI kit. It's AWS Amplify's my UI kit. But I took it and added a few more components that I made for this workshop, and then just like fork the repository and it is kind of same process, right? So you will just need to make a copy of this, and then you have all the designs into this workshop. Okay? And I already have a copy of this, so I don't need to do that anymore. I just need to open my Figma project, and you can see that when you create a copy of this, you have the README page which just describes everything about this project, about this Figma project. Alright? And then in the primitive, I don't know, how many of you have heard of atomic design? Like where basically you have small atomic components that end up building on the school. So that's kind of the principles we're using here. We have very primitive components like buttons and badges and alerts and forming fields and stars and cards and radios and text. Okay? Now, this is the one rule you should follow with this library is don't touch these files because there's a better way to use them. This particular file is directly mapped to the Amplify UI library that you saw me install. So if you go back to the code and open the app.js, this file, alright, so when I import button, I'm importing the style from Figma, that particular button there. I'm going to show you how to, if you want to configure the button, change its color and all of this, but don't change it directly from the primitive page because this file is bound to it. Okay? That's the only rule you need to follow for doing this. There's no other rule, just one simple rule in the primitive page. And that said, what we can then do is go to the Figma project, and if you look at my components page, this is where you can go wide. So the goal here now is to use the primitives to design your components. Okay? So for example, every other component here came pre-made from the Amplify team, but I made this particular postcard for this particular workshop. Alright, so you can basically take and bring together different things from the primitives to make your own component. Okay? I know we are all developers and you don't need to know this, but I'm just showing you this if you cannot afford a designer. It's very simple. There's just one video you need to watch on Figma to understand how to do this, which is just Figma components and Figma auto layout. If you search for it, just those two things. Just to convert UI to components in Figma. And once you have that, you can put it to Figma to amplify. Okay? So, now that we have this project, I just need to click on the share button in Figma and copy its link. Okay? Once I've copied the link, I can go back to the Amplify Studio and click on Sync with Figma and then paste that link. Once I paste the link, I can click Continue now. This is your first time you're going to be asked to authenticate Figma because it needs access to your Figma account to do those changes. But it's not my first time doing this, so my credentials are already cached somewhere. If I click Continue, this is where the magic begins. If you give it a few seconds, it's going to, first of all, pull in all the style systems in that project. You can see all the colors we are seeing, and all the font size, all the spacing, and all of those styles. If I accept all the changes, it's going to do the next thing, which is pull the components. Alright? And see it's saying 0 of 28 updates reviewed. So if you want to accept each of the components, you can accept each of them here, but I'm just going to accept all of them. Okay? I'm just going to click accept all. And we'll wait a few moments, and you can see that we have all the components in Figma coded. Yes, able to platform Amplify on me. but yeah, so everything you're seeing right now is no longer Figma components. These are now React components. Okay? So if I click on our postcard, which I told you I created myself, you can see that it's an actual button that I click on. If I hover on it to change to a pointer. Okay? Let me see if there's anything that has a form, maybe contact us. Yeah. So you can see it's a select box now. Okay? It's a label now, I type in. So this is an actual form, an actual JavaScript form that is rendered with React. Alright? So the next step to this is how do I take the data that we modeled and connect it to the component that we pulled. Alright? And this is where things become very, very simple. Like you know what you have to do for this, you have to instantiate the SDK in your code editor and create all the components manually and make a request, a fetch request and start moving through the components and rendering them, stuff like that. find the component, which is postcard, click on the configure button, click on each of the text. So if I want to change, if I want to bind the title to something in the database, I just need to click on it, click set text label, and I want to set post.title. Okay? So this title now, the title of this component is now found the title from my database. The same thing with this, I'm just going to bind it to post.content. Okay? And bind it to the time it was created. Alright? And for the delete button, I'm going to set an on-click event so that every time you click this button, it deletes the item. And we want to delete the item based on the ID. Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting, right? There's more. Okay? We don't want to show the user only one post. We want to show them a list of posts. Okay? And we can do that by clicking create collection. And give the collection a name. The collection is like a component itself. So we're going to call it postcard collection. And click create. We have a list of posts now. We can change it to a grid and put some spacing around it. Okay? You can add a search to it. Just one click of the button, you have a search for it. We can add pagination, and we can sort it based on the date it was created. I want to sort it in a descending order. Now, if I go back to the UI library and scroll down to the bottom, you can see the postcard collection and the tag file and complex on it. Yeah. So, I'm going to give you some time to just reflect on what just happened. This is something I would previously spend at least 2 to 3 days on. Everything we've done in a few minutes, I'll spend 2 to 3 days on. And most time when I demo this to people, the concern that I hear people, this is my opinion now, the concern that most people raise is just like how we feel about AI, is that like this is coming to maybe take my jobs. But but the truth, honestly, the truth is that there are two things happening. If an experienced developer, it just became faster. It just became hell faster, like extremely faster. So if you wanted to build this, it's like a better example is if I asked you to the more experience you have in something, the less you feel insecure about making it simple. Right? If I was to teach a React workshop today, I won't try to show you the advanced stuff. I will try to show you just the 20% you need to build like 80% projects out there. Because I'm not trying to prove to you that I can do this. And the same thing applies to this. If you have experience or if you enjoy building apps, I don't think that using a tool like this to get you up to speed. And remember, I told you my problem with tools like this was never the help. It's the fact that it's not flexible. It takes control away from you. I'm going to show you that all the control is in your hands with this. Okay? And that's what I love about Amplify. And that's why I'm making sure this workshop is authentic. I'm showing you what I use for my personal project, my side project, because I'm passionate about it and I want to make sure you find this very interesting. Alright? So, just as a recap, just in case you've been distracted by being mindful. As a recap, we modeled a database and added a post table to it. And I've shown you how to also create relationships if you wanted to. And you saw in real time that database being deployed to DynamoDB. So it's not maybe a mediocre database, it's an actually industry standard database that AWS offers. And we've gone behind the scenes to look at that database in action. Okay? And after that, we were able to generate content for the table data database. And then we went to Figma to get design and literally converted all the components in that design into React components. And we were able to bind data to those components and then create collections of that component. Okay? Alright, so the next step now is that we cannot save this app to our clients or our customers from this UI. Somehow we need to put it into a React project and render it to a React app, right? And to do that, we need to do a few things. So before we move on, like I said previously, I would like to make sure that everyone is on the same page. If you have questions, I'm expecting a lot of questions or a lot of opinions. Please hit me with those.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you add a confirmation on
When yeah, so that's a very good question. I'm going to get to, so there are two ways to bind the event. Either you want Amplify to handle it directly for you, or you can actually pass a function for you to call. So when you pass that function later in the React tool. So that applies to your question where you either pass a function, then that function handle confirmation before the okay? Yeah, so and that's an interesting feedback for my team as well for people that choose to not pass functions in, then they'll be able to have a confirmation UI for the days. But like I told you, everything is very flexible, so you can choose to not do it this way, you can pass a function instead. Okay? We are going to do that with editing. We want to start to update the post. I'm going to add about into this, and then we'll see how to actually call the function here, and then execute it for the same function. Okay? Alright, more questions?
How does it handle kind of more complex things, like a mode, for instance? Does it know how to do a full sort or something?
Does it know how to
do like a mode or just like a more complex UI?
Modal, yeah. So I'm going to see a modal as well. So yeah, we'll do that. By the way, it's very neat. It's like GPT-4, so it's still evolving. Yeah, but I'm taking all this feedback and like the team is working pretty fast and like it's not difficult. So if you also feel like something is not right, you let me know and we'll make it better for you. Okay, so I need to start. 1 second, let me get it. I need to start pulling these changes now to a React project. And before we can do that, somehow we need to configure Amplify, we need to install Amplify to our local project, and then tell Amplify about this project in Amplify Studio. That's where they can talk to each other. Okay? So to do that, we just need to, first of all, run Amplify pool. Amplify pool is like Git pool, which is just need to pull everything here into your project, into your React project. If you click this next step button, and you can see that we can just copy this code here, which is just going to run Amplify pool and then the app ID. Okay? So if we run that in the terminal, we're going to get redirected to the browser, to the studio, to authenticate that we want to say that have access to this particular studio project. Okay? And once you ask, you can click yes. Once it's done authenticating, you can close the tab, move back to the terminal, and answer a few questions. This is Amplify, just trying to understand the project data so it knows where to put this face-to-face tool. We're using VS Code, we're writing JavaScript, we're writing React. So you can see all the options in case you're not a React developer, okay? Our source code is the source directory, build and build. Our build command is run build, our source command is run start. And then we need to give it a few seconds to consider generating the UI component. And once it's done generating, it will ask us also if we need to pull in the schema for the model, the GraphQL schema, in case you want to also change things in the schema and then push back to Amplify. Okay? So yeah, do you plan on modifying this backend? If you say yes, it will pull the model for you, the schema for you. Now, if you head back to Visual Studio Code while this is pulling the model, you should see a few changes. Okay? The first thing you would notice is that we have a model, which is the schema like I just mentioned. The second thing you should notice is this here components folder. Yeah, remember I told you you have the full, there's nothing hidden behind, there's nothing hidden from you. You have full control of what's going on. So these are all the components we pull from Figma. And to prove that to you, you can jump down to post and look for post card. And if you open the JSX, if you open the post card, you can see that this is just a component. Okay? So you can see it's importing the button, it's importing text to render all of those UIs, and it's accessing your data store and fetching the post data and rendering and data. So it's okay if you choose to just copy and amplify here, because imagine just joining a new company and the task is to write or convert all the Figma components one by one to React components. You could just use Amplify for this one for free and just eject. Okay? Alright, so, and also we have the post card collection, which is just looping through a list of cards and rendering the cards. Okay? Now, the way that our project is going to be able to talk to Amplify data store is for us to configure Amplify in this project, Amplify SDK in this project using this file called AWS export. Now this file was automatically pulled in as well when we ran through, and it contains your API key and credentials. So this is how this project you're able to fetch data from the database. Okay, so generally you shouldn't push this to GitHub. Alright? And to configure it, I'm just going to go to the project and go to main and look at my commits. Click configure Amplify, and I just to copy everything here and paste it in my main.jsx. Okay, so basically I'm importing Amplify SDK and I'm importing the same file here. Okay, and I'm calling Amplify.configure and passing it that file. Then this other thing here is just the CSS file for the UI. So this is, remember when I told you that those buttons, the primitive that has its type, this is where they were styled. So now if I render those things, they look the way they are supposed to look. Okay? So that said, let's start rendering the components. Any questions so far? Yes? Yes. So if we go to our UI, this is where this is the reason about that UI library. So it has its own documentation, and you can basically do what you can learn about like the custom teaming here. Okay? So you can team it directly from Figma. There's the Figma plugin that allows you to change the entire team, and then once you change the team, it gives you a JSON object called student to import first. UI components, okay? And then we can import post, card, collection. And then we can render it. Alright, so there is nothing, you don't need to pass it any prompt, you don't need to do anything. If you head back to the browser, right? And to prove to you that this is not a picture, let's search for this particular. Right? And keep typing. Okay? And we can move on to the pages as well to see what's in the second page. Right? And to confirm that the delete button is working, let's watch this disappear. Okay? You click on delete. And this actually is from disappear. Alright? Cool. Now the next step is to actually add to this, is to add items to this list. If you head back to Studio and go to UI Library, when we model the database and deploy it, not when we pull the UI components, when we model the database and deploy it, these two components are created, the function components. And you can see the product create form and the product update form. So the create form is basically where you add what you used to add text, to add more content to your database. And to make use of that, we just need to head back to the code and import that product card form, or post form rather, post create form. Okay? And then render it. And that's all. If you go back to the browser, you will have the form. And I can add the text content. And because I ordered the collection of descending date, if I submit, it should appear at the top. Alright? Now, I don't know if you've noticed how fast this is. Like, we're not configuring anything, we're not optimizing anything, but you can see how the read and write is very fast. The reason for this is that Amplify, by default, uses IndexedDB to cache your database. So everything we're doing, first of all, gets stored here. So even if these are offline, they'll keep using your app. They'll keep writing and reading. And when they come online, Amplify automatically syncs to DynamoDB. So we have offline text enabled automatically. If I go to Amplify Studio, there is a chance that the text data is not here, there's a chance it's here, because remember it goes offline first and then syncs data, but you can see already appeared here. And notice how I did not refresh the page. To show you that one more time, let's add something else. Let's add text 2 content and submit. I'm not going to refresh the page, right? I click on Studio, you see it appear. This is a very important point. And because the database is real-time by default as well. So imagine building chat apps with this. Okay, so imagine you have real-time apps, medical apps or stock apps and all of those stuff. It's automatically syncing. And you can just use GraphQL subscriptions to access them in your project. Okay? So you've seen that even if you think that generally you write lines of code for or change your entire infrastructure to accommodate for is already handled for you. Right? Cool. So I think it's time to write into the custom code, maybe edit the text, and this is intentional so I can show you how to, if you feel like being limited, a few ways to work around it. Okay? The first thing I need And the reason why I'm doing this now is to show you the workflow for updating your code. So another rule, the first one I told you is not to edit the primitives page. The second rule is don't edit the content of the UI components. Alright? Because your single source of truth is the Figma component. So whatever you do here, if you run Amplify tool again, it will overwrite it. Unless you intend to eject here forever, which means you're never going to go to Figma and continue doing stuff there. Okay? If you want to do stuff, if you want to make changes, make the changes in your Figma UI and then pull. So the whole point is that you are never coding your component by hand. Yeah, so unless if this is just a one-off thing for you to automate the process of generating components, then you can start editing this component. But if you want to keep using Figma, if you want to keep using the workflow I've shown you, then don't touch anything in this folder. Okay, and when I say this folder, I mean the UI components folder. Okay, so the workflow for updating what's here is to go to the Figma project. I need to add an edit button to this card. So I just need to find, because I already designed it, of course, but just hit it. I just need to enable it back. And then go back to Studio, go back to the user line, to the UI library, and then sync once more. And what's going to happen is that it's going to immediately detect that there's only one component that has changed, and that component now has an edit button. Okay? Then I need to accept changes as well. And if I go to that component, you can see it has an edit button now. You can click configure, click on the edit button, and to address your question about custom events, I can say, hey, I want postcard, which is this component, to receive a prop. It should be an click prop, or let's just say, what's going to be showing up? Correct. I think no, add prop here, and we change the type to a UI event handler, and then let's say handle edit. Okay, and then you can then access that. You can then say on click, call handle edit, like you would do in a regular React component. So basically passing the handler to the parent and then calling that handler in the child. Okay? But this is not the workflow I'm going to show you because it's still easy. I need to show you how to do this from the code, just in case you need to actually get in here and do stuff, and I want to feel limited. Alright? So let's remove this and let's remove this as well. Refresh and share it is fine. Yeah, so there is no more on-click effect on the edit button. So we're just going to leave it blank and pull. If I run pull one more time, by the way, if you look at the collections as well, you should be able to see that the cards now have the edit button there. Okay? So once, let's give it a few seconds to finish pulling. Yeah. So once it's done, you can go back to the browser and refresh. You can see the edit button is there now. So that's the workflow for making changes. Okay? So not edit the UI component, just edit the Figma component and pull. Alright? Okay. So now what I want to be able to do is that if I click on this button, I need to handle an event. So how do I look into that collection and ask it to let me know when one of the items edit button has been clicked? need to override a few things, and this is how you do that. There are two ways to not touch the component inside the UI components folder, but still make changes to it. One of it is either you call override on non-collection components. So for components that are not collection, you call override on it. And then it allows you to go into that particular component and make changes. Okay? But if it's a collection, you call override items. And it takes the function, and that function is going to receive the item you want to override. Okay? So you can then type you need to return an object that has an override process on it. And then we need to override that button, what that button does, any button does. Okay? So to get what any button, to get the any button's name, we go to Studio UI library and go to components and find post card, click on edit, click on configure rather, click on edit, and you can see this is the name. Just to copy the name and then pass it here. And it's going to have an object, I think, and then that object is going to have probably an on-click event. And then we can console the item. I'm not very confident with this code, but if it goes wrong, we'll check. Yeah. Alright, so let's go and try to click on the button and see what happens if we actually get anything off the console. Yeah, so you can see the object. Alright, this is the model. You can see the title, the content, and the rating. Alright? What we can then do is take this model and throw it into it. We've seen it post create form, right? And just take everything here and throw it into the post of this form. Alright? And that's probably the last step for this workshop, which is to render the model. But before we do that, let's take questions, okay? Questions? I've lost anyone?
We use this approach if we just want to set up a base using the Figma components and then not use Figma going forward. We use this approach.
No, this is actually what you use if you want to use Figma going forward. Because we're not touching the UI components. But if you edit the UI components folder, you won't be able to use Figma anymore. Of course, you can use Figma, but it's pulled from Figma to override the change. So that's why we're overriding on the parent, on the component. Exactly, yes. It's in the app.js file, so JSX file, so we're just adding blocks to the component. So if I pull again, this file will be affected, but the actual implementation of this code will be affected, but the prompt you receive still stays. Okay? Cool. Any more questions? Yes, they are very, very controlled. Yeah, so that's like it's very predicted, not controlled. It just looks at the model, at the data model, and it knows that the model has the type and the content. So it just creates two fields for that. And by the way, it's hard to discover this workshop, but if you go to UI, you can actually like configure it however you want. So the form, just like we've been configuring the component, you can change like the field, you can change the content to maybe the text area field and make it bigger, that kind of thing. So you can switch things out. Alright, I just didn't show you because I felt like this is something you might end up filling out when you do the docs, or you can can go crazy with it. Yes, yes, there is validation here. Yes, right here, you can just add a rule. Yes, yeah. Cool. So let's render the model. We're just going to import the model first. Import model from component / model. Okay? And then we can just render it. It doesn't matter where you render it because it's going to, it's absolutely positioned. Yes, so. And inside the model, we want to render the product update form, the post update form. Okay? Let me just hide this and distract it. So post update form. Okay? Now, to show the model, we need to set its model open, and we need to set its model open. So we need to set its model open, not to set its model open here. And both of these we can get it from state, React state. So we can just create its model open and set its model open. So React view state, and of course by default it's false. Okay, but when we click the, let's pass that here as well. So it's model open and it's model open. But when we click on the edit button, we want to set its model open to true. Okay, if we save this and refresh and click edit, which is the model. Okay? It doesn't pre-populate because we haven't told it to do so. So to actually pre-populate it, we just need to set the ID of the post to the item.id we had from this. And to get to grab that item, we just need to say, let's just call a use state set post to item.id. Okay, now we can come here and say post.id. Alright, and then we can create space that stores this. Post and set post. Default to React state. You should default as object. Alright? And because of how React works, we know that React is going to attempt to render first, and then because before the data is even ready. So we just need to make sure that post.id exists before we render components. Okay? So if we go back, click edit again. For some reason, let's see if we have missed something.
You're setting ID of using object.
Oh, yes, thank you so much for catching that. It should be item. Yeah, because we are setting this as an object, okay? Thank you. If I click edit now, it works. So if I close this and click edit to repopulate. So let's say we want to change this to test 3. 3. See changes. Okay? If you go back to Studio and go to content, you should see that no, it's good. Alright? Cool. Now, one more thing before we the edit button, you create an override button, and then when it's clicked, you also close the model. But I want us to do something different, which is I want to close the model. What's more practical is not just to close the model when you click the submit button. You want to close the model when you are sure the data has been written, right? So this is where some business logic starts coming in. Amplify gives us what they call hub events that allows you to listen for changes in the database and do stuff. Okay? So this is on the UI layer. Remember I told you you can write custom business logic on the UI layer or on the backend layer. So the backend layer you have to use Lambda function, which is not in scope. It's everywhere in the docs. But I'm just going to show you the UI layer where you can hook into what is going on and then make changes. So for this one, just because I'm really lazy, I'm just going to go and copy changes. Let's see. If we go to hide update form, we first of all need to import hub from AWS Amplify. Okay. And then we can just create a use effect and call the handler name. So react the use effect and then add a listener to the data store. And I'm basically saying when a mutation is completed, I want to set model to false. Okay? So if you just listen to data store, it's going to give you information about everything happening in the data store. It's going to tell you, hey, something is written, hey, something was read, hey, something was updated. Well, I just want to make sure that this is only called when something is written, when we are done writing. Alright? So, to show you how this works, if we go back to the browser and click edit and change it back to true, just to prove to you that this is not instant, it's asynchronous. If you click submit, it's very fast, but watch the slight delay of the model disappearing. You see that? If you look at the text, look at the value change. The value changes before the model arrives. So if you do that again, right? So it's because it's listening to the changes to the data store before it can then set the model to false. Okay? So we just finished an app that has create, read, update, and delete feature, and we did that in 2 hours workshop. This is something that will take a 3-day workshop to feature in regular and normality, right? And just for the few things, I feel like I've covered everyone, but the cognitive pain, right? So it was not in the scope of the workshop, but I want to make sure I show you how to get started. If you go to authentication, all right, you enable authentication, choose whether you want to log in with Google and any of these things, and just enable it, that's all. And once you've enabled it, if you go to data and click on the model, you can start writing, you can just add rules to it. So because we're not start authentication, you cannot add rules here. But you can define rules like, I want only the person that created rules to edit it, I want only the admin to create or manage or delete posts and all of this cool stuff. Okay. It's very, very, it's not, I'm not committed from this workshop because it's hard. I committed it because I just have 2 hours. Okay? But it was supposed to be in the scope of this workshop. Actually, let me just see if I can show you. If you search for Amplify Learn, it should be AWS Amplify Learn. You should, yeah. So this is a website that me and my team members maintain, and you can see this full stack one. If you look at this, it's written by Alice Peter, and you can see that there is add authentication, add owner-based authorization. And if you look at each of these videos, let's say if you go to authentication, you can see it's just 2 minutes. So that's how fast it is. So don't maybe postpone it because you feel like it's going to take time. It's very easy to set distance of owner-based authentication. This is just 1 minute as well. And if you look at something like modify AWS generated component, this is 5 minutes. This is longer, which is not already done when we did the override. Okay? So my point is that setup authentication is faster than what we've done. It's just I was just trying to make sure we don't spend so much time on that. And I was expecting you to raise the concern as well. So yeah, but just look for AWS Union and just take this. It's a very quick course. It's not a long, like 2 minutes videos on how to do this stuff. Okay? Cool. And of course you have the docs as well. So if you go to the docs, once you're done, we'll get started and jump on to more involved stuff. And by the way, remember I told you a lot of flexibility. Everything we've done is from studio, right? This is studio documentation, which you have like all of the things, models, everything was same. But if you go to CLI, you can choose to teach the studio entirely. If you like writing a lot of GraphQL schema code and just get started with this one. So if you go to API GraphQL and model data, you can see that everything we've done can just take from the editor and then just push when you're done. So at this point, you run Amplify, push Amplify, and can use both of the side to side push. You use multiply data, pull, just like yeah. So you have that flexibility to do what you want, and you can use what is called CDK to basically eject and have access to all the code that AppSync is writing behind the scenes in the system. Alright? So that's what I was saying about flexibility. If you don't feel that, just trust the fact that you own what you're doing. So if you decide to, okay, I don't give a shit about Amplify anymore, you always have the options. So you don't have to worry about it from the beginning. Okay, so it doesn't tie you. This will be very transparent. The only thing it ties you to AWS, which is that you actually say AWS services, which actually, something very, very interesting is that you can, there are articles about bringing your own data to AWS UI library. So AWS Amplify UI. Yeah, so you can, yes, you know the AWS account required. So you can actually maybe bring data from MongoDB and use the UI as well. Okay, so don't feel like you are bound. The whole point of Amplify is to make it easy for you to build apps and not necessarily to make sure that you use AWS services. Okay? Alright, so last questions before we end the workshop. Yeah, that's a very brilliant question. So, if we go to the docs, let's see. Go to the docs and go to studio. I hope I find where this is. Best practices. Okay, so this is a video I told you to watch on components and auto layout. Those are the 2 videos you need to know to be able to follow the best practices. Right? And it's not like a constraint, of course. And these 3 features, they are not really like legacy Figma features. If you need some of Figma, this is how Figma is asking them to build their apps. Okay, so basically what they are, auto layout is basically CSS flexible. Okay, so if you notice when I added the edit button, usually the things you can just drop anything wherever you like when you're designing, right? But I cannot do that here. If I move things around, it flows. See how it flows with this content. You get what I mean? So it doesn't, it's like everything could be arranged. Usually, if I wasn't using auto layout and I draw a rectangle, and draw another one, I can move them anywhere I want. So let's make this. And draw another one and make this. red, right? I can move this wherever I want. But if I select the both of them and make them auto layout, if I start this right and here, add auto layout. Here, if I move now, I can only move it to the front. Oh yeah. So you can see that it flows accommodates like what's going on. Even there's kind of like breakfast moving out of the shape. My point is that there is a frame here now, and if I move it, it jumps around here. So the point of auto layout is basically to respect the way CSS flexible behaves. And what Amplify is now doing behind the scenes is that as long as it's laid out in using auto layout, it can predict the movement of the UI and either use Flexbox or CSS Grid to order it for you. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's basically, the designers generally already have, they already know how to use design systems. So like any designer you give this to, like I was explaining this for you to use it if you have to design that. When you design, you give this to automatically, just tell the person to stick to the design system and know what to do. Okay? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Question? Yeah.
Instead of you looking at style,
Yes. So back to this. And I want to be sure that yes, you can see you can start in stuff like this. Okay, can you still to at the end of the day it's just a class name and you just supply table to class. So you can use Amplify UI to still actually I don't know if you know headless UI. Headless UI is basically what I'm using for the model and it's created by the guys that make Tailwind. If you go to model, headless UI, you can see that what I'm using. And if you look at the styling option, you can see that there is Tailwind. Okay? So, like I told you, there is nothing about we put flexibility first. So there's nothing about flexibility you should worry about. Just be sure that you can always use whatever tool you prefer. It's so flexible that you can bring data outside AWS and find it out today. Okay? For example, if you look at the form 1, if you go to the UI library and look at the, let's create a new form. You can just use a JSON object and it can be JSON from your you just query your MongoDB database and just talk with the JSON there. But create a form for you. Right. Cool. Again, that's the end of the workshop. Thank you for spending time with me and indulging me. Yeah. All right. I guess are you all